Hello again guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be giving Russia an empire. So recently we've been doing a lot of Western countries. We've done the USA, Germany, France, Italy, UK, just a bunch of countries on the West. So why not do at least a few on the East? Just more in the name of fairness. So of course we're going to be starting present day with the war in Ukraine. So the front lines are actually not looking great for Russia. This isn't nearly the exact borders. This isn't going to be exactly how it's going to play out in real life, and it's not supposed to be. This is probably the most realistic empire video I've made yet, but that still makes it, but it's still completely make-believe and not real. So let's go ahead and get started on how Russia can win the war. And their first move there is going to be to unite with Belarus into one stronger entity who can hopefully defeat Ukraine. With that, Russian troops who are already stationed on the border of Belarus are able to begin to push down. Are able to push down into northern Ukraine, as most Ukrainian forces were focused on the border with Russia. With that, Russia pushes on the coast, captures Odessa, and Ukraine is cut off from the Black Sea. A lot of southern Ukraine falls, and Russia captures Kiev. With that, the capital becomes Lviv, I think. Yeah, it's about there. But with the Russians advancing increasingly quickly, the Ukrainian government doesn't really surrender, but it capitulates. At this point, Lviv has fallen, and Ukraine is no longer a working state. It's too weak. It's lost too much to the point where it can't survive anymore as a country. It was just too small against the overwhelming Russian army. With that, Russia's already expanded quite nicely, but their next war is going to be another one that could play out in real life, and that is a declaration of war on Georgia. So the country's declared war on. Honestly, I'm not even going to bother mapping this. Georgia versus Russia is going to be, like, everyone expected Russia to roll over Ukraine, but Ukraine is putting up a massive resistance, and probably actually, when it comes to like manpower and casualties, beating Russia. Well, technically Russia is winning the war by land gain, but in my eyes, Ukraine has done much better. Same thing with Moldova. I'm not even gonna bother. Russia would roll over the country. And another thing I should mention here is that there are no alliances, no NATO, no nothing. So Russia can expand to whoever they want without having to worry about NATO interfering and joining in against them. There could still be some individual countries, but not likely. With that, they decide to unite with Armenia, who really doesn't have a choice here. It's unite with Russia or be killed by Russia. They choose unite. And Russia's next war is on Mongolia. This is not going to be a very difficult war, as Russian troops can pretty much just breeze into the country. So they push in mostly from the east, as they have some population over here, although a majority of Russia's population is in Europe, in their western bit, right around here. They have some population in the east, so that's where it pushes in from, and that's enough to capture Ulaanbaatar, which this doesn't look like a lot, but if you didn't know, Ulaanbaatar is like, half of Mongolia's population, since Mongolia is the least densely populated country in the world. And they have this one huge city. Capturing it would completely capitulate the entire country. Oh, yep, there we go. With that, Russia annexes Mongolia and begins considering their next target. Although it's pretty obvious where they're going to go. As although this is a Russian empire, not them reforming the Soviet Union, they're still gonna try and take back any and all lands that they had at one point, plus more. So what's their next war? It's on Kazakhstan. But at this point, Russia is huge and powerful. They just go ahead and declare war on all of Central Asia to try and get back their old Soviet lands. With that, as I said, a lot of Russia's population is over here in their western, I wouldn't even call it a half, anywhere west of the Urals is their most populated region, but the more land the better. So they begin to push into western Kazakhstan, where a majority of their military is at. This goes pretty successfully, as they capture a good portion of the country, but overall the rest of Central Asia is surviving, and the war is not over yet. About half of Kazakhstan is captured before the country, technically it does surrender, but the rest of the blue team holds on to it, so it's just going to be a larger Russian advance. They also begin to send troops across the rest of the border, as they can't have as many there, but they'd still like to have an invasion on all fronts. They begin to push down the Caspian Sea, as that will cut off both Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan doesn't even have access. Which actually, if you didn't know, Uzbekistan is one of the only 2 double landlocked countries, which means it borders countries that are also landlocked. Caspian Sea does not count as an ocean. It is, as it says, a sea, but more like a lake. One really big lake, think of it that way. With that, they begin to push into Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and just all around into Central Asia, with Kazakhstan pretty much surrendering and Turkmenistan dead as well. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan will fall with ease, and then possibly the strongest Uzbekistan, Tashkent is captured. Over here, it's all dying. All of Central Asia is about to fall, and it does so. With that, Russia annexes every single country in Central Asia, as they may already be the largest, but why not get even larger? Now in this scenario, they still have about the same allies. I'm sure they'd still work together with China, even with all this new land they've already gotten. Would they be stronger than China? Probably not. China has a much better economy, much more infrastructure, much more higher population. If they actually put more money into their army, I'm sure China could surpass Russia. And in an actual war, I think they would win. With that, Russia annexes all of Central Asia. And the world is really starting to notice, hey, Russia isn't just trying to get themselves some land. They're actually trying to rule a majority of the world. Their main goal here is to surpass the USA in power. If they could do that, then the world would most likely, at least a lot of the world, would flip to the Russian sphere of influence instead of the US's. And before I make this war, once again, NATO does not exist, so declaring war on the Baltic states will not be activating it. Also, I haven't had Kaliningrad, and didn't have Sakhalin and Kulodin either. Well, got it eventually, and the Baltic states, once again, not even going to bother mapping it. Russian troops just breeze on in and capture all 3 countries. They're not particularly strong, and honestly, I don't even think they'd get to Vilnius. They'd probably just push to Tallinn, maybe Riga, and that would be enough for all 3 of them to decide to surrender. Now, yes, if you're going to tell me, oh, these countries would never surrender that fast, this is very much sped up from how fast it would be in real life. If I made it as fast as it would be in real life, years would have passed by now. This is probably, after a few years. So we might not want to see NATO break up, because Russia could very easily expand into this, and even more, with their next declaration of war on Azerbaijan. But of course, with that, they're going to have their first other country joining in, with that country being Turkey, helping out Azerbaijan, who's their ally. With that, we also see a few other countries join in on this anti-Russian league, aka Poland and Finland. So now we have these 4 countries attempting to put a stop to Russia. Honestly, I don't think it'll be enough, though. At this point, I'm pretty sure the USA is still the first strongest country, but Russia's in a strong second and could beat these guys all up. With that, they begin to send a ton of troops into Azerbaijan. They capture Baku and the country surrenders, and they begin to push into Turkey. although Turkey had pretty much all of their troops stationed along the Russian border, so their advance is slow to say the least, and Turkey even manages to push back. With that, Russian troops who were already in the Baltics for their invasion begin to push down into northern Poland. While Poland, I guess they might decide to push out a bit. They attempt to push into Russia here in the south, closer to their more major cities such as Warsaw, Krakow, etc., etc. We also see Finland begin to push into Russia, while Russia pushes into southern Finland. Although this won't last very long, just until Russian troops can make it to the area. With that, they continue to push into Turkey, taking a good portion of the coast along the Black Sea, while weakening morale within the countries that they are invading. They also begin to push down the Polish coast, capturing the entire thing, and the Battle of Warsaw happens, ending in a Russian victory. This is not the Soviet Union. This is the Russian Empire. With that, Poland surrenders, and that's one less country Russia has to deal with. With that, Finland decides to retreat pretty much just all troops from Russia. They see no point in trying to fight on their soil and begin a, you know how when it for the USA in Vietnam? Yeah, it's gonna be that, but even worse. The Soviets are eventually going to win, don't get me wrong. But it's gonna cost them so much that I don't even think they'd want to do this. With that though, in Turkey, that jungle warfare isn't happening, guerrilla warfare actually. So they're breezing into the country more and more as troops start to lose morale, and the Turkish army continues to be weakened. They actually decide to retreat some troops from Turkey in return for a planned invasion into one of the most important regions of the country. If you didn't know, right here, Istanbul. So Russia prepares a majority of its navy to push into the Black Sea and capture the city, along with the area around it. With that, Turkish troops immediately withdraw from the border with Russia over here in the east to retake the city, but this serves as just the distraction Russia needs, as it didn't land many troops here, just enough to distract the Turkish army, and that turns out to be their most important play of the war, as the city is easily recaptured once their full-on military might goes there. Istanbul's captured, Ankara is captured, and Turkey surrenders. With that, it's just Finland left, and as I said, this is going to be terrible guerrilla warfare for Russia. It's going to be horrible. There's 1 month. Here, let me say months. 2 months. 3 months. 4 months. 5 months. It is slow. This war has already been going on for about a year, but in the end, we will see Russia winning it. They annexed all of Finland. If you didn't know, they used to have it as the Russian Empire, not the USSR. They actually lost the Winter War. Well, no failed war here. They don't actually annex all of Turkey and Poland, but they do take a good portion of it. With that, as I said, a good portion of Turkey, maybe not half of the country, but yeah, good portion of it. A lot of the northern bits are given over to Russia. Actually, no. A majority of that is still going to go to them, but Russia's going to get even more, pushing down into eastern Turkey. So Turkey still has Ankara, still has Istanbul. They'll be fine, but it definitely has hurt them as a country, especially in some rivalries against Iran and whatnot. But they don't have a border with Iran, neither does Azerbaijan, so I don't know if that would be as big of a problem. As for Poland, they will feel the Russians' might, as about 2/3 of the country is annexed, and the rest is made into a puppet. With that, Russia annexes the rest of the land that I didn't say got independence. And yeah, they are one heck of a strong country right now. So let's go ahead and finish coloring that in. And yeah, once again, Russia is just absolutely dominating against nope, not a gradient. Not a gradient. against all of these other countries that they're declaring war on. And with this even more added strength, they can just start to be like, you join me or you die. A few countries accept that ultimatum, those countries including Slovakia. And honestly, that's the only country that agrees to join Russia. Everyone else turns them down, saying we'd rather fight to our death than be annexed by you. Basically, as a final stand, not gonna work. Just gonna go ahead and let you know that. They're all gonna die anyways. But hey, they get a tiny bit longer to live. With that, they declare war on Hungary and Romania. And probably the largest war here is about to start, with a few other countries, aka Bulgaria, Czechia, and Sweden joining in as Europe's final stand against Russia. But honestly, it's not going to be enough, not nearly enough. They have some amount of armies here. It's going to put up a fight, but it's not going to be enough to win the war. With that, Russian troops begin to push into Hungary, capitulating the country within a few weeks. They also begin to push into Romania, as the country has some good defenses, but not nearly enough to stop the Russians. They also begin to push into Czechia, as Prague is captured and the country surrenders. With that, they continue their push into Romania until the country is fallen, and Bulgaria is no problem either. They then begin to push into Sweden, who will be the hardest one here, with once again a lot of guerrilla warfare like Finland, but even stronger. So let's go ahead and finish that war up. Let's go. With the Russians pushing down the coast of Sweden. With that, the Battle of Stockholm happens, ending in a Russian victory, and this is just about the end of Sweden. With the majority of their coast captured, Sweden surrenders, and one of the final wars has been ended, with only a few more expansions for Russia to complete. With that, they annex a good portion of Sweden, especially down the Baltic Sea, a small amount of Czechia, about half of Hungary, although they're allowed to keep Budapest. Same thing with Romania, but Bucharest is not left in their hands, and Bulgaria is allowed to keep access to the coast, but not nearly enough to thrive as a country. With that, Russia takes all of these lands, and we can really just see them at this point. Once again, maybe if like a majority of Europe and the USA joined up, they could stop them, but besides that, Russia's gonna push where they want when they want. Let's just say that the world will no longer mock them for their loss in Ukraine. With that, they annex all these lands, and I mean, obviously they're the largest. Are they the strongest country in the world? Well, by the end of this, they most likely will be. As while doing this, they're puppeting countries. They're gaining influence over countries. So let's say like in Egypt or in Panama, the ones with the canals. Down in India, they're growing as an influencer. In real life, India is allies with both the USA and Russia. But with Russia gaining strength and the USA losing allies, India would most likely do the smart thing and ally themselves with Russia. Which I never really thought I'd be saying, that India should ally themselves with Russia. But, makes sense. With that, Russia, once again, by far the largest country. Probably about 3 times as big as Canada. Yeah, in real life, they're already about almost twice as big. This would only increase that number. So they're going to be declaring their final war, which is going to be against some of the Middle Eastern countries, one of those being Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon also join in. So this is Russia's second final battle, actually. There's going to be one more. But once again, it isn't going to be too big of an issue for Russia. They begin to push into Iran, who's actually going to put a pretty heavy defense up. As for Iraq and Syria, Iran's really just going to leave their allies to die here, as they don't care much about them. With that, about half of Iraq is captured, along with a bit of northern Afghanistan, but that's not going to be very fun for the Soviets. They attempt to cut it off and do so successfully, as their push into Iran is going insanely well over here in the east, where the Soviets have reached the coast and are now battling for Tehran. Iran's capital of, as I said, Tehran is captured. A bit more progress is made into Afghanistan. Iraq is cut into two, with one half of it falling. Syria and Lebanon follow suit. And Iran, they're cut off from the Caspian Sea and the coast. With that, they surrender. And here, let me show you how this is going to go. 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. Do you get it yet? Yeah, this is terrible for the Soviets. They're losing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of men. But in the end, they do win in Afghanistan. And let's just say they'll take the land they think they deserve, not the land that they should get. So yeah, I don't think this would survive in real life. The amount of ethnicities, cultures, and diversity in this country would tear it apart in months. But for the sake of the scenario and its unrealisticness, we're going to be allowing it to survive. With that, Russia connects up with the coast, with the Red Sea. No, with the Gulf of Arabia. Yeah, it's the Gulf of Arabia. And yeah, just a few countries are let go, including Iran, who's now split into two. Iraq, who's pretty weak. Syria and Lebanon lose no land, though. And and as for Afghanistan, it may be the hardest region to take over, but it was, as I said, incredibly annoying for the Russians to take over. It put up an incredibly strong fight. So Russia just basically wants to show them off, say, hey, we won against you, we're going to annex you, you're ours now, ha ha ha. Same thing that they're doing with Iran, just being like, yes, we won, we're going to over-exaggerate our power over you and annex all or majority of your country. With that, if you didn't know, their final war, it's actually going to be kind of against the US, but not exactly, as honestly at this point, I don't even know if the USA would want to go to war with Russia. Of course, you never want to go to war with another nation, but sometimes you would do it. In this scenario, I don't know if the USA would, though. Who would be stronger by now? Russia's taken so much land, I'd have to give it to them. When it comes to strength, USA versus Russia, I'd gotta give it to them. They control so much land. They have to be the strongest by now. But yeah, with that, their final war is going to be a declaration of war on Japan. So basically, they just want to gain some more influence over the USA. And after not even that long and all of fighting, Japan agrees to a peace treaty in which they just lose Hokkaido. With that, the Soviets, if they were to expand more, they'd most likely push into Manchuria or into Xinjiang to expand into China. A Sino-Soviet war, I could definitely see happening. But for now, this video is already too long, so I do hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!